Hello, thank you for your understanding about me needing to cancel the optional review sessions yesterday due to my husband being in the ER. He is okay. I appreciate a couple of you guys emailed me and I thought that was very sweet. So just like Unit 1, I'm going to record this optional review session. Let me make sure that I'm definitely sharing my screen. Okay. Yes. So you should be able to see the Nearpod here. So I'm going to choose my character. And again, like I said on our announcement, everybody will get the extra credit on this test since nobody had the opportunity to attend live. So after the test, I will manually add those points. So it won't be immediate, but later in the day, you'll notice that your grade will change by 3 points. So what character will I be today? I like this llama, so let me join the game. Sorry, I'm trying to start it on my other computer. There we go. I'm having to have one computer where I'm pretending to be I am the teacher, and then a different computer where I'm pretending to be the student. Okay, let me start the game. Question one. Terror management theory proposes that prejudice against different groups results from uncertainty, concerns about mortality, intergroup anxiety, or competition over scarce resources. The answer here is concerns about mortality. Just think about it, terror management, terror of death. That's all you need to know. That's like a mnemonic you can memorize. Terror management theory, the terror is the terror of death. Not to start the video so dark. I don't know why I put that as the first question. Okay. Implicit prejudice occurs when people consciously hold negative attitudes associated with an outgroup, when people unconsciously associate negative attitudes with an outgroup, conscious attitudes are activated, or members of one group deliberately discriminate against members of another group. So, implicit prejudice or implicit bias, that is when you are unconsciously holding the negative attitude. And I hope we learn a lot about implicit bias in modern days and times, but it's when you might not be like racist in your conscious mind, but you accidentally are in your unconscious mind. And that's very, very common, and something we all need to work on every single day. Okay. People who take more than their fair share of resources are called high in social identity, social loafers, free riders, or social comparers. Um, that would be social loafers. So, yes, free rider is a similar concept, but it is a little bit more related very specifically to finances. And that's not something we really covered the distinction on in class, but when you're talking about somebody taking more than their fair share of resources, those are social loafers. Kind of like they're loafing around. This can also be seen on like a group project. You have 7 people are on the project. Somebody's not doing any work. That's a social loafer. I would never assign you guys a group project. Okay. De-individuation is the tendency to engage in in-group bias when part of a larger group, dislike members of another group, engage in systemic justification, or lose your sense of self in a crowd or group. And that would be de-individuation is losing your sense of self in a crowd or group. Um, like a few years ago at an Astro World concert, there was like a trampling issue that was related to de-individuation. There's like a very specific religious sect in like the medieval times that had like some wild like dancing where people would exhaust themselves to dancing and like pass out. That's de-individuation, is losing your sense of self in a crowd. Okay, in blank, men are highly motivated to protect their status and reputations. United States, collectivist cultures, cultures of honor, or countries that produce a lot of violent media. And it's not in the United States that men are highly motivated. Men are somewhat motivated to protect their sense of status and reputation across the United States, but men are highly motivated to protect their sense of status and their reputation in a culture of honor. And a culture of honor is seen in the US South, including we're kind of in the South, and it's kind of like you're a man's man and you're going to protect your property, and maybe you have a gun and you're going to protect your status and be like, don't mess with my reputation. That's a culture of honor. I've done some research on a culture of honor in rural field work. I find it to be very interesting. Not everybody teaches about it in social psychology, but I think it's kind of relevant to Kentucky. And I think it's very interesting. Carla is a very accomplished violin player. Having an audience to watch her play is more likely to enhance her performance, impair her performance, have no effect, or impair her if the audience is large. So this will enhance her performance. So we talked about a theory where about performance where if you're really good at something, if you have an audience, it will help you do even better. But if you're not confident, you will do worse. And we talked about it with that study with the cockroach atrium, and when like they walked across like the Easy Bridge, when they had the little cockroach atrium with the little cockroach audience, they did better, and when it was like the hard one, they did worse. Now, that study, I mean, that was a really long time ago. How much can we draw from cockroaches? Who knows their statistical techniques? I don't know. But it is true, definitely, in humans that when you're good at something, if you have an audience, you'll do better. And if you're bad at something, if you have an audience, it kind of freak out and do worse. Okay, one racial attitudes implicit association test. Logan responds faster when positive words are paired with images of white people and negative words are paired with images of black people, and slower to pair negative words of pictures of white people, positive words of pictures of black people. Assuming the IAT is a valid measure of implicit racial attitudes, how will we interpret these results? That was a lot. The IAT is a test where you are having reaction time on pairing positive words with white or black people and negative words with white or black people. There are other spinoffs, but this would show an implicit preference for white people over than black people. So what it's saying is if you're given the word heaven, good, moral, if you see a picture of somebody and you're faster to pair that with a white person than a black person, then you are saying you might think that word goes along with white people better. I kind of feel like we should have unpacked it more in class, but the reason that we didn't at the same time is that it does have some controversy about how good of a measure it really is. So it's just kind of a can of worms, but I wanted you to know about the IAT, the implicit association test, and the major takeaway is that you pair like good words faster with the race that you have, that you kind of implicitly think is like better in your unconscious mind. I have met the guy a few times who made it. I don't know, we're testing new stuff all the time. It's hard to say how valid it is today, but I have used it in my research. A behavior is not aggressive if it's unintentional, verbal, instrumental, or subtle. Unintentional behavior is not aggressive. If you accidentally fell with your fist open and accidentally hit somebody in the face because you tripped, that's not actually aggressive. That's just an accident. Instrumental aggression is when you do something aggressive for a specific reason, like you poison a queen so that you can take over her monarchy or something like. I don't remember if we talked about something like that in class, but it could be more benign. It doesn't have to come from malice, is my point, but if it's an accident, it's not aggressive behavior. Okay, the weapons effect. I love this. The tendency for people to be more inclined to use weapons to aggress if they're frustrated, phenomenon only observes in the United States, has not been empirically tested, or is a tendency for the presence of firearms to up the odds of aggression, especially when people are mad. And that is the correct answer. So in like the 70s, they did this study and they had a real gun in the lab, which is like crazy to me. But they like provoked people and they saw how much the people lashed out. Like an actor provoked them and they saw how much the people lashed out if there was a gun on the table versus like a wallet or something random. And if a gun is around, you can get more mad. It doesn't mean you want to shoot somebody. I guess just the gun maybe reminds you of like aggression and you get more mad. That's the weapons effect. I think that's very interesting. Would it apply to a gun like on a wall in your house? I don't know, maybe a little bit. That would be a cool research study. Mike does not want his wife to watch a particularly violent movie because he thinks women are too pure for that type of material. This is an example of dehumanization, hostile sexism, ambivalent sexism, or benevolent sexism. And it is benevolent sexism. Benevolent sexism is when you think like women are too pure for something like, it could even be seen as like, if a woman doesn't like really want you to open a door for her, but you're like, oh, you don't have to do that, honey. Like, I don't know. Or you think like, yeah, like you said, too pure to watch some sort of movie, like too sweet for something, like that type of thing. Oh, I'll pick that up for you, even if she could really do it. Usually well-intentioned, but that's benevolent sexism. So that is it for our optional review session. Please email me if you have questions about the test. I have put a clarifying announcement on Blackboard about the paper that's due on Friday, but please let me know if you have questions about that. And otherwise, I guess I'll see you next Wednesday, but please be in touch with any questions. Thank you again for being flexible about me doing the recording of this, and I will add the extra credit later in the day. Have a great rest of your day.